Most people think Sigma males detach because they stop caring about others, but that's the biggest misconception of all. What truly pulls a Sigma away isn't the loss of a person. It's the loss of momentum. The moment he realizes the connection, environment, or routine around him is slowing his evolution, something shifts inside him. His energy stalls. His vision blurs. His intuition starts whispering that he's standing still when he was built to move forward. And for a Sigma, stagnation is far more painful than separation. He doesn't mourn the past, he mourns the speed at which he was once becoming his higher self. And when that fire fades, so does his presence. Before he leaves, there's always a last moment of clarity. The quiet realization that people weren't holding him back. He was holding himself back for them. That's the moment everything changes. If this resonates with you, answer this in the comments. Do you miss the person, or do you miss the version of yourself you were becoming? Drop the word momentum if you're one of the silent wise. Subscribe to Silent Wise for deeper Sigma psychology and the truths most people never see. He notices his drive fading, and he realizes the connection is slowing his evolution. That moment always arrives quietly, almost imperceptibly, like a subtle shift in the air that only someone wired like a Sigma can detect. One day he wakes up and feels it. The loss of momentum, the dimming of the internal flame that once pushed him forward with precision. It is not sadness, not frustration, not even disappointment. It is recognition, a realization that something in his environment has begun to pull him backward instead of sharpening him. The connection, whether a relationship, friendship, or social circle, no longer fuels his growth. It drains it. And for a Sigma, nothing is more alarming than sensing his evolution slowing down. He studies the feeling the way others study faces, analytically, silently, without emotional theatrics. He retraces his steps, noticing when he stopped dreaming as boldly, when his focus softened, when his mind shifted from expansion to maintenance. That internal audit reveals the truth. He has been investing in something that no longer aligns with the person he is becoming. Once he sees the connection as a weight instead of a catalyst, everything changes. His energy retracts instinctively, the way a warrior sheaths his blade not out of fear, but out of wisdom. He starts thinking ahead again, imagining possibilities outside the limitations he's been living in. The fog clears. His ambition resurfaces. His intuition grows louder. He remembers who he is when he is not being slowed, softened, or subtly molded to fit into someone else's pace. And that clarity becomes the turning point. The connection that once felt comforting now feels constricting. The space that once seemed familiar now feels too small for the future he envisions. So he prepares to move forward, not out of anger, but out of necessity. Because a Sigma male never misses people. He misses momentum. He loses interest the moment the relationship stops matching his forward momentum. For a Sigma male, connection is never sustained by comfort, routine, or emotional familiarity. It survives only when it evolves alongside him. The second he feels the pace slowing, the second he notices the dynamics has shifted from growth to stagnation, his internal compass reroutes itself. It is not dramatic, not emotional, not even intentional at first. It is instinctive. Like a runner who suddenly realizes the person beside him has stopped moving, he feels the drag immediately. Conversations that once sparked ideas now feel repetitive. Shared moments that once energized him begin to feel heavy. The relationship stops being a partnership in motion and becomes a weight he must carry. And Sigma males do not carry what does not walk beside them. His mind shifts before his actions do. He observes the pattern in silence. When did the curiosity fade? When did the effort drop? When did he start giving more fuel than he received? He notices the imbalance with clinical precision, not resentment. And as soon as he sees it, the emotional investment begins to dry up. Not because he is cold, but because he cannot attach himself to anything that slows his trajectory. Progress is his oxygen. Forward motion is his language. When that disappears, the bond loses meaning. He stops initiating. He stops overextending. He stops trying to revive something that is no longer aligned with who he is becoming. By the time the other person senses the shift, the process is already complete inside him. He has emotionally checked out. What remains is a quiet detachment, a calm certainty that he must return to his natural rhythm. He does not leave because he stopped caring. He leaves because staying would require him to shrink. And a Sigma male would rather lose a relationship than lose his momentum. He feels trapped when his growth outpaces the environment he's in. For a Sigma male, growth is not optional. It is his core rhythm, the engine that pulls him forward regardless of who stays beside him. The moment he realizes he is evolving faster than the world around him, something inside him tightens. It is not frustration or disappointment at first. It is a subtle suffocation, like trying to sprint in a room with shrinking walls. Conversations begin to feel shallow, the daily routines feel recycled, and the ambitions of those around him seem to move in circles while he feels wired to move in a straight line. This mismatch creates a silent tension inside him, a pressure he cannot ignore. His mind is expanding while his environment remains still, and stillness to a Sigma feels like a cage. He notices it in the smallest moments. When he shares a new idea and the room cannot meet him halfway. When he adapts, improves, evolves, but the environment expects the old version of him to return. When his hunger to grow becomes something others misinterpret as restlessness or dissatisfaction. That misunderstanding reinforces the trap. He is no longer aligned with the pace, the energy, or the expectations around him. And when a Sigma male senses misalignment, detachment begins. His silence deepens as he reevaluates everything, not out of resentment, but out of instinctive self-preservation. He pulls inward, conserving energy, calculating the distance between who he is and who he is becoming. And when that distance grows too wide, he knows staying will cost him more than leaving ever could. Growth has become too big for the container holding it. The environment can no longer support the evolution happening inside him. And for a Sigma male, that realization is the final signal. He must break out, not to escape, but to breathe again. He withdraws because staying still feels more painful than walking away. For a Sigma male, stagnation is one of the deepest forms of discomfort. He can handle conflict, distance, solitude, even loss. But the feeling of being frozen in place, unable to grow, is unbearable. When a situation, relationship, or environment begins to demand stillness from him, something inside him rebels. It's not dramatic, not emotional, but a quiet, rising ache. A sense that remaining where he is will cost him more of his identity than leaving ever could. That internal pressure builds slowly, like water behind a dam, until withdrawal becomes an act of self-preservation. He doesn't retreat suddenly. It begins with small shifts, less engagement, shorter answers, increased silence. Not to punish, but because his mind is already moving on while his body is still there. He studies the space he's outgrowing, noticing how each day feels more like repetition and less like evolution. The conversations feel predictable, the energy feels recycled, and the aspirations around him seem to shrink instead of stretch. His intuition speaks clearly. Staying will turn him into someone he no longer recognizes. So he steps back, not out of coldness, but out of necessity. In his world, motion is life, and stillness is erosion. Walking away is not abandonment, it is self-renewal. He doesn't chase closure or explanations because the decision isn't rooted in conflict, it's rooted in clarity. The place he is leaving cannot meet him where he is going. And while leaving may look harsh from the outside, for him, remaining would be the true cruelty, a slow suffocation of potential. Withdrawal, in this sense, is not escape. It is liberation. He disconnects when the dynamic requires him to shrink instead of expand. Nothing pushes a Sigma male away faster than realizing that a connection demands he become a smaller version of himself. The moment he feels he must dim his intelligence, soften his ambition, silence his intuition, or compress his potential to keep the peace, something inside him shuts off. It's not anger. It's not rebellion. It's the quiet recognition that the dynamic is asking for a sacrifice he will not make. He has spent too long building a life shaped by growth, self-direction, and internal momentum to tolerate any environment that tries to confine him. The shift happens subtly. He becomes less expressive, less accessible, less emotionally invested. Conversations that once felt open now feel narrow, as if every word he speaks must pass through an invisible filter of expectation. He notices how his energy contracts around certain people, how his ideas are met with resistance instead of curiosity, how his presence is tolerated only when it fits someone else's comfort zone. That constriction becomes a warning, a sign that staying here will cost him parts of himself he's not willing to lose. So he disconnects. Not dramatically, not with confrontation, but with quiet precision. His mind exits first, then his emotions, and finally his physical presence. He walks away because shrinking is a form of self-betrayal, and expansion is the only path that keeps him aligned with who he is becoming. For him, disconnecting isn't a punishment, it's preservation. It's the refusal to compromise his potential for the sake of a dynamic that was never built to hold it. He stops investing when he sees his goals no longer align with the people around him. For a Sigma male, alignment is everything. He doesn't choose people based on convenience, emotion, or shared history. He chooses them based on direction. The moment he realizes his path is moving in one direction while those around him remain rooted in place, something inside him changes. It's not disappointment. It's not judgment. It's the quiet understanding that his future cannot be built on foundations that are no longer moving with him. He feels it first in the conversations that start looping instead of evolving, in the plans that shrink instead of expand, in the energy that pulls backward instead of forward. Momentum is his lifeblood. When it disappears, so does his investment. He doesn't withdraw suddenly. Instead, he observes, evaluates, and absorbs the truth without announcing it. He studies the ambitions, or lack of ambition, around him. He notices who talks about growth but never acts, who promises change but stays stagnant, who expects him to slow down so they don't feel left behind. Slowly, the connection loses its gravitational pull. The bond weakens not because he is cold, but because the direction is no longer shared. And a Sigma male cannot walk beside someone who is committed to standing still. He stops offering emotional energy, stops extending effort, stops trying to build something with people who don't want to build alongside him. The shift is internal before it ever becomes visible. His silence grows, his detachment deepens, and his mind begins to drift toward environments that match his ambition. He doesn't leave because the people around him are bad. He leaves because they are no longer aligned with the future he refuses to compromise. For him, investment is sacred, and he will not pour his energy into a place that cannot grow with him. He disappears to reclaim the pace, purpose, and clarity that make him who he is. When a Sigma male feels himself slowing down, bending, or drifting away from his natural rhythm, something inside him activates, a quiet, uncompromising instinct to return to himself.
He knows the signs. His thoughts start feeling heavy. His motivation becomes diluted, and the clarity that once guided him begins to blur.
That's when he understands he's been absorbing too much noise, too many expectations, too much energy that doesn't belong to him.
Disappearing isn't running away. It's recalibration.
He withdraws not to punish anyone, but to rebuild the internal structure that makes him effective, driven, and self-led.
In solitude, his mind accelerates again.
His ideas sharpen. His intuition becomes louder.
The fog that other people's emotions created finally clears, revealing the direction he was meant to follow all along.
He feels himself returning to his natural pace, fast, focused, untethered. And as soon as that pace returns, so does his purpose.
His disappearance is a homecoming.
It reconnects him with the parts of himself that get buried when he stays too long in places that demand stillness. He walks alone because movement feels sacred to him, because clarity arrives only when the world around him quiets, because his growth depends on maintaining a direction untouched by the expectations of others.
And when he steps away, a powerful transformation begins. He regains momentum, he regains intention, and he regains control. By the time he returns, if he returns at all, he is sharper, quieter, faster, and more aligned than anyone remembers. Disappearing is not his escape, it is his reset. It's how he protects the very qualities that define him: pace, purpose, and the clarity that makes him impossible to derail.
When a Sigma male realizes he's been moving at someone else's pace, he doesn't argue, explain, or justify. He simply steps back into the orbit where he truly belongs, the one he built for himself. And once he reconnects with that momentum, everything changes. His focus sharpens, his energy rises, and his direction becomes undeniable again. Disappearing isn't his ending. It's the moment he accelerates. If this message hits something real in you, tell me in the comments. Do you disappear to escape or to evolve? Momentum, so I know you reached the end. Momentum. Subscribe to Silent Wise for more psychological breakdowns on Sigma behavior, emotional strategy, and the quiet power moves most people never see coming.